on Tuesday, PlayStation 4 users ended up getting the introduction of Operation Absolute Zero, to which we got a ton of content like we've detailed here on the channel already, and plus the big talking point of the COD community as the past couple of days, the brand new specialist Zero. Now, we've talked about Zero here quite a few times on the channel. We even did a full guide and breakdown of how to counter Zero and how to really master Zero at its core. But the big thing that comes down to this is the discussion of whether it's OP or not. And I'll be one of the first to tell you that it is definitely one of the ones that you might want to snag quickly in the pregame lobby just out of necessity so you don't get spammed by it. So it's effectively that one-to-one counter for somebody spamming you with Zero, which is unfortunate. I don't think that it should be like that, but regardless, it is something that has a very strong base at it and how it works at its core. Like we've talked about many times here on the channel, you're initially first equipped with an EMP grenade that charges about every 75 seconds, and then your ultimate is the ice pick, which allows you to hack not only players, but also score streaks, equipment, and all things like that. So when it comes down to it, Zero may have actually been an anti-specialist, or I guess maybe in theory. Though, as it stands, it's one of those things that just becomes overbearingly annoying. But that's to be expected, I think, with a brand new introduction of a core component of the game, and that's something that was even admitted by Treyarch's Tony Flame. We'll talk about that in a second, but when we talk about Zero, is it truly OP? And this is where it starts to turn the discussion more so into subjective. I'm sure that a lot of players that are maybe not as good as the people that are earning score streaks constantly enjoy Zero for the chance of either destroying and giving the team that comfort of not having to be destroyed by them, or they can end up hacking them. But when it comes down to it, there are a lot of things that even beneath the surface Zero offers, in the sense that you can't heal whenever you end up getting hacked. That's something you can't do even though it's a physical syringe, not something digital. Players' name icons in hardcore and in core go away when hacked, so that's something that really can prove actually dangerous in hardcore modes. And when it comes down to it, simply the earn times of how long it takes to get Zero's abilities, and also how long they last on other players, are something that's rather annoying more so than anything else. But when you lay out everything that Zero has, everything that she offers, and how little it takes to actually get all that, it does paint the picture of, well, this is kind of OP. And that's where we turn the conversation to the idea of a potential nerf coming in the very near future for Zero. And we're talking potentially very soon. So that said, when we take a look at it, expert game designer at Treyarch, Tony Flame, ended up tweeting, been taking a look at score streak hack times for Zero and other fixes. First week for new specialists and weapons is always fun. And that's one thing that I totally understand, that the first week of a live environment is definitely one of the most chaotic. Whenever you design something like this, you're thinking of the larger picture in mind, but when you have only a certain amount of QA testers and can only internally test that so much, when you then push it out to a live environments of hundreds of thousands to maybe millions of players around the world, well then you're obviously going to get a lot more data from the live environment than just your in-house testing. So that's something that, honestly, if I were to guess, Treyarch would have had in mind that they were going to have to nerf this at some point or slightly alter how it worked at its core to begin with. But they didn't have all the data necessary to adequately adjust the specialist. So therefore, that's where this now comes into play, where a specialist nerf is on the table and where other fixes will be coming into play as well. Now granted, while we don't have anything detailed in terms of what will be coming, there's a bunch of things that I have in my mind that I want to run past you guys as potential fixes we might end up seeing, and that truthfully I think makes sense from a developmental perspective and also from a player's perspective on how Zero would work better and not be something that is overly spammed, overly used, or overly powerful. One of the ones that immediately pop into my head here at this is the potential to hack players or streaks, not both. That's one thing. If you take a look at how the ice pick works, you just breeze through streaks, equipment, and specialist, and you can take out literally anything on the playing field, and it becomes something that almost everything is up for grabs. Granted, there are some things that you can't hack or you don't have the time to hack, like things like the Hellstorm missile will show up that you can end up destroying that midair, but chances are you're probably not going to. The timing of that has to be impeccable. But outside of those small areas of things that are kind of up in the air as toss-ups and very situational, most of the things can end up being adjusted, and so you really control the entire battlefield by simply using Zero. And while of course you don't necessarily get kills for it unless you hack a streak or something, it is something that completely changes the flow of the game, even if a team is absolutely dominated. So for that, the ultimatum of one or the other is something that honestly I don't think is too bad. Some players might not really enjoy that, but it almost comes down to the specialist argument in my mind at its very core, where Black Ops 4 differs from Black Ops 3 and at times seems like a participation medal, because you get not only the ability but also the weapon or ultimate, and whereas Black Ops 3 3, you had to choose one or the other. So to be able to destroy or take control of everything on the map, guaranteed, normally twice a game, that's something that's honestly insane. So one or the other, to me, definitely a big option here on the table. Another one could be maybe just even longer hacking times. One thing that, say for bigger streaks, yes, things like the gunship already take longer than what your, say, drone squad would take to end up hacking that, but it still is almost no time at all. And one thing that I honestly think would be great for this in terms of the hacking times is that instead of the ice pick you end up getting, why not make it the directional black cap from Black Ops 3, just like that equipment? Because honestly, I think not only would it make great sense for the source material of Zero, if you guys saw that, the pre-release tease material on Frequency, we see Zero referenced as a black hat hacker. So granted, that could be just a blanket statement for a hacker, but the pure one-to-one reference is enough for me to be like, ha, I see what you did there. But I think that if it was a directional thing that you had to aim up each time, it'd be a viable option to take out streaks like that, but it also wouldn't be something that's spammy and takes control of everything in a matter of 10 seconds on the playing field. And it would be something that, like Black Ops 3, it wouldn't be spammed all that much, and it adds a lot more risk to a high value target you're attempting to hack. So in that sense, by doing so, by maybe getting rid of the ice pick and moving the black hat into where it is, it's something that not only it takes longer to get everything on the field, even if you can, but also adds a lot more risk to the idea of hacking or destroying items. Because as it stands right now, the 10 seconds or so that it takes to hack everything on the field, whenever you end up having that mini icon on your head, it's not up there all that long. So granted, while you can find and take out the person hacking as Zero, how likely is it that you actually will? Because more often than not, somebody will activate it after they die, they're in their spawn, so you have to get through an entire wave of players to begin with, flip the spawns, and then hope by that time they're still hacking so you can take them out. And at that point, well, unless you spawn with them, they've probably already gotten through 90% of the playing field. Another way to mitigate this is just simply longer earn times, that you can't get Zero's abilities as much as you do and as frequently as you do. Zero's an interesting specialist here to have because it doesn't have the slow earn rates of the lethal ultimates for specialists like the Annihilator, like the Purifier, like the Tempest and all, but instead it's more in line with the support items, very similar to, say, Crash's Heal. And that allows for nearly 2 ice pick hacks per user per game, and considering that most lobbies have 2 Zeros on their team, that's upwards of 4 per game, 2 for each side, naturally, and usually they're grouped together since people want to spam it. But in theory, that's a window of a hack every single 2.5 minutes, which is honestly, truthfully less whenever you have that. So for or against it, that's a small window of time for your streaks to be up or for you to even have any uninterrupted playtime where somebody's hacking your system and your minimap is all scrambled. So if you put it more so in line with something like the lethals, like the Annihilator, I don't really see all that many TDM games where somebody is using an Annihilator twice in a game, where they're using a Purifier twice in a game. That's something that's more of a rare instance, if it even happens ever. But the ice pick's something that can take and destroy the most lethal of score streaks on the playing field, hack players and equipment and all. That happens twice a game. So while coming from Zero herself, they might not offer the most lethal of options with those abilities, the things that it can control and how it can shift the game itself is something that is honestly pretty lethal. So I think one way to, again, mitigate this is just to add longer times for the EMP, for the ice pick itself, so it's more in line with the lethal specialists. Additionally, some other things that came to my mind are just make more things off limit to hacks. Things like health and the name icons shouldn't really be all that affected. I mean, especially the health. Why you can't regen your health whenever your system hacked is kind of interesting to me. It's not anything that's digital, it's a physical syringe your character puts into their arm to heal up. Higher streaks I don't think should be taken out as easily as they are currently. And then the final topic of discussion here that I want to talk to you guys about real briefly is when we may see this change. Now, Tony Flame didn't give any ETA on this whenever he addressed this over on Twitter, but it is something that a fix like this obviously is imperative. The first week of Zero has been fun, or maybe more so annoying for most players, but whenever you start to see this and it becomes something that's more so spammed and over time that honeymoon phase wears off, players are definitely going to want to see a change here for this sooner rather than later. So if I were to take a wild guess, I think the very earliest that we'll see this is Tuesday when we get an update for not only some things on the PlayStation 4 end, when we get those blackout changes which may end up requiring a title update as well, or it also could fall in line where Xbox One and PC players have an already fixed version of Zero going into their launch of it and they don't have the OP nature that PlayStation 4 users have had for that first first week. So kind of being that PlayStation 4 users were the guinea pigs, and then it kind of is a balanced launch across the rest of the platforms. That's something that might happen, but again, your guess is as good as mine. And being that this was addressed as of a couple of days ago now at this point, it is possible a fix could be pushed for this as early as Tuesday, but how likely? That's the big question, because that is still very early on from an initial launch of Zero. So if that were to happen, I'd say maybe after the holidays, but that's also quite a long wait at that point. So it's an interesting balancing act that I guess only time will tell. But that said, we're gonna wrap it up. So I definitely think it's interesting though that Treyarch is aware of Zero and how it needs to be adjusted and what sort of adjustments may be made. That's again something that we'll see very, very soon. That said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What would you like to see fixed out for Zero? Is there anything that you would throw into the ring for contention? Anything out of the list that we did here in this video, or whatever it may be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video though, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, multiplayer, Blackout, zombies. We got you covered. The best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And if you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But all that said, now that we hope you guys had a fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.